Thank you so much to Cosentino for hosting us today, and thank you to Laura for being here. My name is Ashley Smith, and I'm the Director of Architect and Designer Partnerships with Urban Bonfire and Kalamazoo, which are the two banners that you see here. We do have some examples of our products outside in the courtyard as well, so if you haven't had a chance to take a little gander out there, then please do so at the end of the talk. It's beautiful weather. I'm from Montreal, so I'm really appreciating how warm it is here. We're outdoor kitchen design and manufacturing companies, and we also make the highest performing outdoor cooking equipment on the market. So that'll be my little introduction. Today we're really here to talk about bringing interior warmth into outdoor spaces. So outdoor spaces are really unique simply because they are vast. They don't have boundaries as an interior space does. And so I think one of the challenges that we face is how to bring some of that warmth and some of those textures and that coziness feeling into this vast space. And so I'm really lucky to be here with Laura today, who I was fortunate enough to meet last year in Chicago, and she makes really beautiful interior spaces. And so I wanted to have a discussion with her on how we can bring in some of that outdoors. So I'll let Laura introduce herself.
Thank you for the introduction. I hate hearing my voice, so bear with me through this. But I'm Laura. I'm an interior designer based out of Orange County, and I've been in the industry for quite some time now, over 20 years, and it's just, I feel so lucky, as I'm sure a lot of you out here would agree, that it's so amazing to find something that you love, and getting to be a designer and work with people is, I think, what inspires me. I absolutely love just our clients, the stories, getting to help build like a beautiful life for people and families, and help dictate like how people are living and how they feel. And so it's really special. And we have a team. We have an amazing team. It's not just me. It really takes a village to work on these homes. And yeah, I'm excited to be here. I love Urban Bonfire and Kalamazoo. That was amazing in Chicago with you guys. And then of course, Cosentino being here. It's amazing. So.
The cherry on top.
Yes.
Perfect. So as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about bringing warmth into outdoor spaces, and that in California seems, like it can be kind of easy if you're talking about temperature, but it's really bringing that feeling and that coziness and that whimsical that we're starting to see in the interiors. How does that translate outdoors? So we're going to go basically through 5 really quick topics. The first one being functional zoning and how that can be helpful in outdoors, intentional material selection, layered textures, cohesive color palettes, and then elevated details and furnishings. So we'll dive into it. You'll see the cover photo is always a beautiful project of Laura's. So we're showing you kind of the interior equivalent and then how you can bring that into the outdoor space. So a lot of the outdoor photos will be Urban Bonfire or Kalamazoo, just to give a little bit of inspiration. So what is functional zoning? Functional zoning is structuring an outdoor area into distinct spaces for different activities. So everybody does this in indoors. You have very distinct spaces of where your kitchen is and where your dining room is and where your living room is and where your family room is. But when you don't have those definitions of those spaces because you don't have walls outdoors, it's still important to still think in those terms. So you still want to have those kind of functional spaces. When you're seeing outdoor spaces, are there ones in particular that you make sure that we include? Do you think about it in these like broad strokes terms?
Yeah, it's interesting. I still hear the word like we have a patio that we need to finish. And I think it's sometimes funny because you think of like a dining room, and on the interiors we have designated spaces where you really know how you're going to use it. And outside, one of the biggest mistakes that I see is really when people just have like a grill, have a few seats, like it's just kind of a bunch of things and no one actually sits and like enjoys the outside.
Yeah.
So what I'm starting to see more, and even on the project before this one, we really had designated spaces. So we have a place that's really comfortable. I think you want to have a space that people want to go like after you've like had dinner at the dining. You like want to then go and get cozy on the sofa and stay outside for a long time, and just like, those are the best parties. I like when you're like at a party, you're outside and you just stay till so late at night, and it feels so special. So I think you can really set up your outdoor space to live really beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just the inside.
Yeah,
It's really,
I think for entertainers in particular, it can be a really great space to use to, like you said, create that kind of magical moment after dinner, or when you go outside and you're looking at the stars, if you can, if you're in a city where you can see it, or there's a fire pit, or there's always just something that's so unique about outdoors, and it makes it feel like a little bit more of an elevated experience, maybe. I work in the outdoor world, so obviously I think very highly of this. I really appreciate outdoor design and everything that we have been doing, because I started in this industry 10 years ago, and to your point, the number of times that we had clients who would ask for a barbecue counter, or instead of an outdoor kitchen didn't really exist, and now you're starting to get those definitions of those spaces, and you have the wellness aspect that's coming into it too. But it's been an interesting evolution of the outdoor space.
It really is. Like when we start a project and we're going through the interiors, and then we go to the outside, and it's like, a lot of the times the client's just like, I need a barbecue, and it just kind of starts with, oh, we're gonna get a barbecue, and it's like, well, wait, like let's pause for a minute, and let's think about the outside and work with an amazing landscape architect. I think working with a team member, having a strong team is so important, and it's something that I talk about a lot. You want to collaborate with them and work on the interior and the exterior to put something together that's, the interior is going to function beautifully and the outdoor is going to function beautifully. So
that's what I think is so unique about the opportunity of the outdoor space. It's where so many different design professionals can collaborate. Like interior designers are putting their touch on it. Landscape architects are starting to take over, especially the outdoor kitchen space. Architects sometimes are dictating what the materials are going to be. So it's this like unique kind of pool of talent. And I think it can be difficult because it's hard to know whose role it falls to, but there's also a lot of opportunity there, I believe, as well. I think another thing to talk about is the importance of flow and traffic between different areas. Again, I think this is something that's considered a lot in indoor kitchens, especially if you're thinking of like restaurant kitchens and things like that, where things are and how they interact with one another is so important. But that same thought isn't put into the outdoors. But I think that we could do a lot more of that, and just making sure that you have an understanding of how the family is going to use the outdoors and what that means. And if they're depending on the indoor kitchen, if they need to be able to get inside, make sure they have a clear path to get inside. It's like these little things that we don't think of. And again, to your point, these are all things that you think of inside, and maybe you've done all of this zoning and everything, but it just hasn't really translated to the outdoors yet.
I still remember being on a project and asking the question, where's the barbecue going to be? And they're like, oh, we were trying to figure it out. And it's like so far away, like you'd have to walk like all the way around the corner, and it's all hidden. And it's like, why? Like you have to think about how someone's going to live, and think about how you would want to cook and the convenience. And how do you help a client to live better, and how can you make the flow, how can you make things easier for someone instead of making it difficult?
Yeah, you don't want it to be difficult.
Yeah.
Limit the barriers to entry, because that means that they will actually use the space. This is a key takeaway that I have learned over the last 10 years, is if there's any sort of difficulty to use it, the client won't use it. Maybe they will the first few times, but as soon as there's that like little hiccup that makes it difficult, then they'll stop using the space. In outdoor kitchens, we do, in every slide you'll see I have a little part about outdoor kitchens in particular, because this is what I know the best. And so I do want to make sure that we get some of that information in there too. But instead of thinking of the same interior design principles for outdoor kitchens, we tend to think of outdoor kitchens in zones. So you have your wet zone, you have your dry zone, you have your, cold zone, and you have your hot zone. And each of those zones have different activities that go along with them. So in your hot zone is where you're cooking, in your wet zone is where you're doing your washing up, in your cold zone is where all of your refrigeration is, and then your dry zone is where your preparation happens. And that in itself is this little like ecosystem. So you want to think of it in that way. And also to your point of the barbecue being off in the corner, somebody still has to go out there with their tray of food and put it down somewhere. So at least plan for like landing zones and things like that within those zones. I have a whole CEU about this, so if anybody wants to know about landing zones, I can talk about it for basically an hour. But I would say that that's the biggest takeaway is think your client's gonna come outside, they're gonna have things in their hands. They're gonna wanna put it down somewhere. So that's the importance or one of the real advantages of having an outdoor kitchen.
And I just love that the zones have gotten to be so beautiful, and like there's so many amazing options now that I feel like we didn't have before. And I'm an interior designer talking about exterior, but from my point of view, I've just seen where we are in Southern California, we have the ocean, we have like amazing views, and there's just so many things now, like sinks that are just so streamlined. A faucet was in the showroom where you can push it down and it's not sticking up off the counter, and there's all these different ways that you can make your cooking kitchen, your outdoor kitchen, really function beautifully and look just as good as an interior kitchen.
Yeah, that's been a huge evolution in the outdoors. I think in the past you would think these like huge stainless steel, masculine, chunky pieces of I'm going to say furniture or like rock almost. But now there's so many different options, and we have one outside here. You wouldn't even guess that it's an outdoor kitchen. It looks like a credenza, and it has a sink and a burner and a grill out there. So make sure it is getting dark, but make sure you go check that out. For the second point that we're going to go over, it's intentional material selections. And this is such an important one because I think this is where the biggest difference comes in between indoor and outdoor. Indoors, you can use a lot more materials than you can use in outdoor kitchens. It's just the limitation of weather and being outside. So I think one of the things, when you're choosing the selections for outdoors, you really want to convey warmth, but durability is also really important, but you still want it to be stylish. And I think this is one of the challenges of being an interior designer when you're working with outdoor materials, is that you are a little bit more limited.
Yeah, we are a little bit more limited, but I feel like there's a lot of amazing options now. We're even using exterior materials inside just because they hold up so beautifully.
Yeah.
Like from a fabric perspective, even area rugs, we're using outdoor rugs inside now. Countertops, Decton is great to use. So I feel like it's just outside, it's educating the client and taking the time to put together a beautiful space and think about layering and adding the textures to create something that you want to spend time in.
Yeah.
Like what you don't want is to have a space where you haven't added in the layers or really thought out the design, and then you don't want to be in the space. And you like hurry and get inside.
Or it doesn't have the same personality
Yeah.
as the indoor space.
Yes.
And I think that's a shift we're seeing in design as well, where people's personalities are really coming through, and you're starting to see that more moodiness, and we're going away from the white. And I think that's really fun, and I really hope that we get to see that come to the outdoors as well. Using natural materials obviously is, maybe not obviously, I don't know, is an easy way to bring some of that warmth outside, and natural materials are obviously from the outdoors to begin with, so I think it's really important to use those, any woods or stones and things like that. Not all stones and woods are made equal, so make sure that you know which ones you're using and selecting. And then that can help bridge the gap kind of between the built structure and nature as well, using some of those kind of more natural materials. So it's still really functional, it's still really durable, but it has that kind of warmth and bringing you in with nature.
Yeah,
are there any materials
absolutely.
in particular that you like to use?
Well, I love using natural materials. I think they age beautifully, like woods, the teaks, and I love perennials is a material that we use quite often, and yeah, I mean,
I put you on the spot.
well, no, I'm just trying to think. I mean, we love working with, obviously, Urban Bonfire. I think doing the outdoor kitchens and making them more interesting. We used to use or see so much more where you're just taking the siding from your house, and that was what you did for your outdoor kitchen. And now there's so many options. So it's really fun, and we collaborate more with the landscape architects. So we'll usually work with them, and it's amazing to see what all of the options. I mean, there's so many from what it used to be.
Yes.
And but yeah, I think you want to blend in with your environment. I'm not a huge fan typically of like bright colors outside or like having it be really loud. Typically having something that just more is serene and like blending into the environment is how
That's your style.
That's our style.
Yeah.
But nothing's wrong with color and like adding in some color here and there.
Of course. I mean, in California, you're also so lucky with all of the flowers that
Yeah.
you have.
I
This
mean,
is
we've
so-
done like a pink bar cart outside and stuff like that, so a little bit. Yeah, you can have fun.
A little bit here and there. I think one of the unique opportunities of outdoor kitchens is being able to use the most durable materials, so like a 316L stainless steel as an example, or marine grade aluminum, but then still being able to clad it in other materials so that it doesn't feel so metal, for lack of a better word, so it doesn't feel so cold. You do get to warm it up with the cladding around, which is, we did a line with Decton, and I think that that has really helped kind of bring some warmth and texture.
Beautiful. So the line with Decton is stunning if you guys have not seen it. I think it almost, to me, it can look like a furniture piece, and the way that it's all integrated is so stunning.
Yeah, and just using these two amazing materials that can be outdoors, doesn't need to be covered, but still looks like something really unique and a beautiful kind of piece that you can put outside. Yeah, I think selecting materials that visually link the home's interior finishes as well just makes for a more cohesive design, which is something that we're going to talk more in depth about. But don't be shy, also, to Laura's point, to use some of those outdoor materials inside. I spoke with a landscape architect, and they said that they chose the flooring of the home based on what they were using outside. Because they wanted it to be seamless, because you had those big open doors and you don't want to have that gap in between. And so that was the easiest way to do it. And that was like such an aha moment for me, because in the past it's always been the interior first and the outside's kind of like the afterthought, or we'll do it next year, or it gets pushed off. But now it's being kind of more considered at the forefront.
I think that's where it's really important to have the team up front.
Yes.
So not waiting to bring in an interior designer, not waiting to bring in an exterior designer, but like having everyone together up front so that you can start working together to put together, you know, a harmonious space where the indoors and the outdoors works beautifully together, is very important.
Yeah, you don't want it to look like an afterthought. It's so you can tell that these were done. You know, when you see a home and you can tell when the addition was added on, because there's something not quite right. So I think sometimes you see that with the outdoors, but it's starting to change. I think it's starting to become more
I
of a
think the best
priority.
thing is when a client says, I love like staying outside, you know, I love being out here. And that's what you want. You want to create zones and areas, like expand your home.
Yeah, it expands the space that you're living in. The ethos of Urban Bonfire in Kalamazoo is to create memories, basically. So we're creating spaces where you can create memories with your family. The heart of the home is the kitchen, and so why can't it be the heart of the outdoors as well? That would have been a good line to end on, but we're only halfway through, so bear with us.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Okay.
Textures, like layering textures for comfort, is also something, again, that you do really well on the interiors, but we don't see a ton of outside. Sunbrella, I saw, had really amazing collection that I saw this morning, and so I think that is changing, and we do have a lot more options of what we're working with now. But using textiles like weather-resistant throw blankets, pillows, upholstered seatings, things like that are really easy ways that we can kind of add some of that texture.
Yes.
Is there anything?
Yeah,
other
area
materials?
rugs, draperies, poofs. Yeah, I think all of the soft surfaces are really important outside because there's so many hard surfaces.
Yeah, it's true. It's a lot of well, not concrete, but some
Stone
concrete, sometimes
and-
stone.
yeah.
And yeah, those very hard and kind of like impact surfaces. So being able to soften it up with textiles is really important.
And create something just comfy, you
Yeah.
know, where you can stay.
Yeah, I think this is just a little anecdote of my life, but my favorite purchase last year was I bought a 3-foot by 3-foot rocking chair that has this massive pillow in it, and I leave a blanket out there, and my dog and I snuggle out there every night, and
I
it's just
love
like it just
that.
brings me such a moment of joy.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that this existed, but I was targeted for it online, of course, as it happens.
Oh, that's
it did
how
its
it
job.
happened.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
get you. It's probably going to show up on ours now.
Yeah,
too.
everybody's going to get targeted for a 3x3 rocking chair. I recommend it. And then combining hard and soft surfaces, we did talk about that, but like having that hard, maybe stone table with a rug underneath, or softening something up, even with a plant, I think is a really nice way. Outdoors, you can do that. You can add plants anywhere. It's a nice way to kind of like
the
warm.
layers.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Add that a little bit of decoration. Lighting. I attended a webinar, and one of the people on the panel said, you can use lighting to create magic, and that is something that stuck with me so much. This was a landscape architect. And like, you get it indoors a little bit, you can get that moody lighting, but outdoors, you can do so much with it, and I think that can add so much warmth.
Yes, lighting is everything, and you can't ignore it. Like, you have to put a focus on lighting. That's the exterior. I mean, you can go by homes. I'm sure when you're driving home, you can, and it's late, you'll notice the homes that were done. The lighting, like, makes a house. So, and you do want to plan that up front.
Yes.
Like, these are all things to think about early on, so that you get it right. And it's the same thing, of course, with interiors. I mean, you can really ruin a house with the wrong lighting.
Ruin or make a house.
And there's so many amazing lighting designers as well that are really fun to work with and are incredible. So lighting design is huge. Because even if you're outside and it's dark, how are you gonna stay? Like,
you
if
won't.
You can't eat,
Yeah,
like you
you'll
can't
end
see
up
your
going
food. So it's
Yeah.
important to have everything well lit.
Yeah, and we talk about in outdoor kitchens, you do want to have the 3 different lighting. You have the safety lighting, the task lighting, and the ambient lighting, because it's a kitchen. It is a kitchen. You need to be able to see what you're doing, but you also want to create the mood, and you need to be able to see where you're going. And so that's where the safety lighting comes in so much. And you don't want to depend on the light inside of the grill. That does so little. You really want to make sure that you have adequate lighting out there. It's better than nothing, but so often we'll see people who haven't planned for lighting. They're cooking on one of our grills, which is an investment, and they have a headlamp on because they haven't planned for the lighting. And like, we see this so often. It's not good. It's not good. I mean, they're very creative, and at least they can, still use the grill. But yes, plan for lighting. In indoor kitchens or in outdoor kitchens. When you think of metals and things, you think of, like you said, very reflective or like very hard surfaces. But there are a bunch of different powder coating techniques and things. We use Santex powder coating, so it does add a little bit of texture, and it can add a little bit of that warmth. So it's still a metal cabinet. It's still the best material that you want to use for the outdoor, depending on the environment. But you are adding that like little element of warmth to it as well.
Yeah.
So that's my little spiel on the outdoor kitchen part of it. Next up, we have cohesive color palettes. Obviously, this is something that all designers think about all the time in any kind of design. If you're doing, fashion design, can't think of the graphic design is the other word I was thinking of, interior design. And color can really be, you want to strategically use it so that it's an authentic, connected look. How do you use color? What kind of palettes do you use?
We like to use the environment to help us with color. So, you really pull in, like, when you stand and look out the window, what colors are you seeing? And like, whenever you can pull that inside, and then of course have it cohesive with the outside, it just, to me, always ends up being something that's harmonious, and it just lets your eye keep going and not just stop at something. And so typically, that's the best palette, is just looking around you and seeing what you see, or you're pulling from the inside. So maybe you used like a really cool berry red color, you know, inside, and then you want to bring that outside. With Urban Bonfire, you can bring that same color outside and like have something that's more of a statement and something that, you know, it draws your eye to that. That can be really fun. So I think you just want to look at, you know, what moments do you want? What are you trying to achieve? Are you, you know, do you want to have the outdoor kitchen be the star of the show and have it really stand out and have it be a focal point? Or are you trying to create, like, is it the ocean where you're like, I want everyone staring at this. My house costs $50 million and that's what I paid for. I don't want people looking at my barbecue. You know, so I think there's just a lot of things to just consider up front. And we do that by, you know, up front, you're starting with a lot of inspiration images. You're talking to your clients about where are your favorite places, what makes you feel good, and getting a feel for what they love. Like, because at the end of the day, it's not what we want, it's what our clients want, and getting in their head and figuring out like what makes them just so happy and what makes them want to stick around outside, you know.
Yeah.
And I think you want to figure those things out up front, and then you can get to the palette.
Build everything around that.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the same webinar where the person talked about using lighting to create magic, they said that the three most important components of any outdoor design is the architecture, so taking into account the existing architecture if you're not working with it at the same time, but there's already a home there, so make sure that you're considering that. And then the existing landscape and taking inspiration from what is already there in the landscape, and make sure that you're obviously using materials and planting everything that is appropriate for that particular landscape. But that's amazing. Draw inspiration from what's around you. Nature is beautiful.
It is.
So let it kind of guide that conversation.
Yeah.
And then highlighting affects how lighting affects color perception from day to night, and this is something that you can really play with in outdoors because you have that extreme of the, you know, in the middle of the day, how everything is so well lit up, and then at night, how nothing is lit up, and you can play with the moments. And I think, like you said, you can create these like focal points. So if you have a light, you know, at the bottom of a tree, and you're creating this kind of like moody, shadowy tree, which is really, really.
My car needs money.
We can edit that out, right? Yeah? Okay. And then to your point, the outdoor kitchen should fit the color theme, but if you do want it to be something that kind of stands out on its own, then you have that option as well. And I mean, color palettes always have something, typically have something that's like the pop or the like main focal.
Yes.
So you can choose what you want to focus on in the outdoor space.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, again, it's just taking the outdoor space, thinking about what you want, thinking about, like, I just look at some of the best, like, when we've had parties and it's outside, they are some of the best times. And it's zoned. I mean, you just kind of think about, I'm not going to sit at the dining table for 5 hours with friends. So it's thinking about you cook, you gather, and then, you know, you linger and stay for a while is what you hope happens.
Yeah.
And so just like the inside, we consider the outside the same thing. When we're doing the outdoor furniture, it's figuring out what's the most comfortable, how are we going to blend it with what we did on the inside. I mean, now we have just these spaces where you can barely tell where the outside and the inside is. We have these huge doors. You can like see right into the yard. And so you want to make sure what's out there works,
yeah,
you know, beautifully what's inside. And there's so many, again, I mean, I think I've said it so many times, there's so many options. There's a lot of options.
It feels like there are limited options, but there really
There's
are
a lot.
once you know kind of what they are.
There really are. And the biggest thing that you know I have found is educating clients, because the outdoors, it tends to be pricier than the indoor. The fabrics and just like what goes into it, the technology behind it. But when you do invest in good products, it is so much better than going like a cheap route. I mean, at the end of projects, sometimes I think people do get a little bit fatigued.
Yep.
And the worst thing that can happen is that someone just like buys what is on sale, you know, and like cheap and not exciting.
I want it to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where the more you can have conversations early on, plan, and make sure that you're setting up your client and the project for success so that they can get their dream outdoor kitchen, you know, and so that they can have a really comfortable seating area.
Yeah, it does exist. And
It
this is why we
does.
hire designers, or well, why people hire designers is so that they can educate them on the options, because it can be really overwhelming. And I even understand that. I have a background in interior design. That's one of the best advantages of hiring a designer is they give you 3 things and they say choose from these 3 instead of the infinite number of options that are out there, which is why we're here talking to you, so that you can know about the options and hopefully sometimes suggest, or all the time suggest our products, but also just to learn about how to achieve these really beautiful spaces. What you said kind of really segued really well into our kind of final point, which is the elevated details and furnishings. It's really everything around the kitchen that makes it a successful space. So it's not the kitchen itself, it's everything that you're considering and choosing for the outdoor room. What kind of
things do I like in the kitchen?
Yeah, or
Oh.
even just like what are the best pieces that you always want to kind of include around the kitchen to ensure that people are using it?
Definitely want a place for wine. And having just like a good prep area, having a place for people to sit, stand around so that you don't just have to be like by yourself barbecuing. You want to have friends around and have it be a social feel outside. So I think just having enough space for that. And I mean, Kalamazoo, you can get so many amazing appliances that are just beautiful and restaurant quality. So you're really not having to go out to eat. Like you want to cook and stay in because you have, you know, there's so many good cooking appliances. And I also really appreciate that things are more integrated. And it's not, there's always a place for stainless steel, I know, like appliances, but I love that you can have it paneled and have it just kind of blend in and have it a lot more seamless and pretty, because we all want to look at pretty things.
Yeah.
And the outdoor kitchen has just really become maybe, I don't know, almost maybe as important as the indoor kitchen.
Oh, I love it.
I don't know. Maybe
This
not
is gonna
there
be the
yet.
soundbite.
You could argue with me on that. I don't know. But I do think that in my family, we are, well, I'm not, my husband is, but cooking outside every single night. There is probably maybe once in a while it happens inside, and it's usually like, ugh, like I'm gonna have so many like dishes to clean up, and I don't know that I have time for it, and cooking outside is just so much more enjoyable. And here in California, we have amazing weather. We are very lucky. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
But
I'm here.
But
All right.
but I think having an outdoor kitchen that's beautiful, I mean, what's better than that? How exciting to have an amazing indoor kitchen and an amazing outdoor kitchen. I think there's nothing, I mean, that's luxury.
It's a good combo. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're seeing so many homes that have a second kitchen anyway. So whether it's, you know,
Yes.
a butler's kitchen, or there's so many different names for it, but why can't that second kitchen be the outdoor kitchen? And then people will use it hopefully just as often as they would any secondary kitchen. To your point, I always say that if you're cooking outside, it feels so much more like a celebration than if you're cooking inside. Cooking inside feels tedious. This is something you have to do. Cooking outside is something that you are choosing to do. I don't know. This is like, maybe this is just a way that I convinced myself so that I will actually cook and make food. But cooking outdoors just always seems so much more enjoyable than the indoor equivalent of doing it. I will say really quickly, overhead structures can really help. We're talking about warmth, and we've kind of gone off on a lot of different paths, but I think one of the easiest ways to eliminate some of that vastness and to create some of that coziness is to add some sort of overhead structure. And we are seeing this a lot because it helps in snowy climates like my climate. People will actually go out and use their kitchen in Montreal if there's a cover over it. And then also in really hot climates because it can help against sun and things like that. And you can have fans incorporated in there, so it makes it a more enjoyable space to actually stay out. And it can help with that designation of this is the cooking zone and this is the sitting zone.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think, yeah, an important consideration. And yeah, outdoor kitchens, as I said, are really surrounded or elevated by what they are surrounded by. So it's not, you're not just thinking of the outdoor kitchen design, you're really thinking of the whole outdoor design and how that fits in with the indoor. And the most successful design, I talked about existing landscape and existing architecture, but it's the human component that really makes it for your client. The best design is the design that is best for your client at the end of the day. And so making sure that you understand. It's all about the client. Yeah. It's all about what they want and how they use it and making sure that it's easy for them to use and that they're excited
I think that's the most important. I think sometimes you get people that think that they want the world, like they're gonna all of a sudden become the best cooks in the world, they're gonna have pizza night all the time, and they're gonna like, you know, become pro chefs. And I always think it's interesting to really find out like how are you living now and like what's your routine and what, like how does your family, like do you guys all sit at the table together? Just everything you can find out about people and how they're living and how can you help them make good decisions, you know, where are you going to use the pizza oven, you know, every night?
The answer is yes. The pizza oven's amazing.
So much I also think sounds good in the like in theory, and then what you're actually going to use, and you might use a pizza oven every night. I mean, that would be great. But
one of my favorite questions to ask a client is, what do you cook and what do you aspire to cook? Because maybe they do want to make pizza, but they can't because their indoor oven doesn't get hot enough.
So they need to take classes and see if you like it.
There you go.
Yeah.
And there's indoors you're limited in what you can have. You can't have an open fire grill as an example indoors, but you can have this outdoors. So find out what your client likes to cook and see if you can create that outdoors. And that's an opportunity for them to get excited.
And honestly, this is all more new to myself and our team in getting to understand the outdoors more and just making sure that we're also putting an emphasis on the exterior as much as we are on the interior. So, yeah.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming. It's definitely, it's changed so much in the time that I've been here. Even when you think about what the barrier was between indoor and outdoor in the past, like in my parents' generation, there was a small door to the backyard that maybe had a window in it. And so you weren't seeing outside. And so there wasn't really a focus. It was like, that's where your kids went to play and you didn't need to worry about them. Whereas now it's fully open walls, like fully integrated indoor-outdoor spaces. And so there has to be a lot more thought put into it to make sure that it's a cohesive, consistent design. And that you're using the right materials out there and bringing in that coziness so that people really want to be out there. Yeah. That was more or less what we wanted to cover. I know it wasn't super long, but I did want this to be a little bit interactive too.
I don't want to bore you for too long. It's getting late.
It's getting late. Laura keeps talking about how late it is, which I guess is an LA thing. It's really early Montreal time, so I can stay for a while, but. Just to kind of conclude what everything that we've said, functional zoning structures outdoor areas and creates those distinct rooms for specific activities. I think this is really important. Make sure that you're planning out the cooking space and the seating space. I was going to say before and I got distracted, but incorporate some sort of seating next to the outdoor kitchen.
Yeah.
So whether that's seating, like you have an L kitchen and you have an overhang on the kitchen, so there's a few bar stools, or if you have a full designated dining area, or if you just have a lounge area, but make sure there's some sort of seating because that will encourage people to hang out and include the chef, like you said, in with the rest of the party as well. It's never fun to be the person on the barbecue with your back to everybody and you're off in a corner. No. So you want to incorporate them. Intentional material selections, balance weather resistance and with an indoor aesthetic. Make sure that you're using the right materials, but make sure that it also fits with everything that you're using indoors. Layered textures create depth, intimacy, and a comfortable sense of coziness outdoors. It can be hard for outdoors to be cozy, but I don't know, when you think about I don't know how many people have been camping, but if you think about camping and you're sitting in your camping chair with your blanket on and you're roasting a marshmallow, like that has such a cozy feel to it. And I think you can recreate that in outdoor spaces and in your yards. Cohesive color palettes should extend the home's interior story to the outdoors as well. And then elevated details focus on quality furnishings and incorporating interior-like accessories. Bring that art outside, bring that rug outside, bring whether TV, you see a lot of TVs outside. I mean, there's so much that you can do in the outdoors. So create that
and
outdoor
wellness
world.
outside.
Yeah.
Cold plunge,
Saunas, yeah, all of it. So really create this oasis, this space that your client is looking for.